Hi guys, how's it going, and welcome back to Toon Tuesdays, your weekly roundup of Newcastle United news. Now, I mentioned this in last week's video and it's pretty similar again this week, and it's that as we get closer and closer to the World Cup, it's only on Thursday now, things at club level do tend to quieten down a little bit with regards to news and transfers, but I have got some news for you today, so let's get into it. Starting things off on a high note, we had Adam Armstrong and Freddie Woodman recently competing in the Under-21s International Toulon tournament, and they won it. England won it. That's actually the third time in a row England have won that tournament. They beat Mexico 2-1 in the final. Armstrong came on as a sub and Woodman played the game, and Woodman actually won goalkeeper of the tournament as well, which is fantastic. It's really highlighting what a great young player he is. Obviously it raises more questions as a Newcastle fan. When is he going to be ready for his time as our number one? I know we've just brought Dubravka in and he might not just be ready yet, but do we keep sending him on loan? Is it time for him to have a season on the bench, maybe learn with the team? It's an interesting one. Digging with the international theme, Mitrovic recently scored a hat-trick in Serbia's 5-1 win over Bolivia. He actually got a hat-trick and an assist as well. So as we get into the World Cup, as a Newcastle fan, I think he is definitely going to be one of the players I'm looking to see how he does. We all know it's looking likely that Mitro is set to leave. Front runner, you would imagine, would be Fulham, the team he helped get promoted to the Premier League. And as we know, Rafa doesn't seem to be a big fan of his, so if he goes and has an incredible tournament, would that change Rafa's mind? One thing that seems to have been a bit of an issue for Newcastle United in the last few years is the number of players who are graduating from our academy and making it into our starting 11. As I mentioned that, 18 of our under-23 players have now been released. Names to mention: Curtis Good, El Hamani, and this is part of a very big shake-up we're trying to have, and I suppose a change as a club to moving into the future. I mentioned last episode that Gamez and Haidara have also been let out on a free, so that is a pretty big chunk of players we have let go. And again, I mentioned we are trying to bolster those ranks, so that is the plan. And in saying that, we have offered 6 players a scholarship to our academy on them leaving school this summer, which include Will Brown, Ty Banks, Lucas Gamblin, Kane Reid, George Rounsfell and Jude Swales. A lot of players to let go, but hopefully it's a step in the right direction. And good luck to all those players that did get let go. While we're on the topic of players going out, there's been more rumours for ins and outs, and I'm going to try and mention some of them today. They're a bit all over the shop, so if there's any that have caught your eye that you think could be legitimate, let me know down in the comments. If I'm honest, I would love it if we could maybe sign a player in the next week or so. But once the World Cup gets started and you want a player who's featuring in that World Cup, it's going to be very difficult to get them. Players like Mitro that we have, I can't see a transfer happening until the World Cup has ended. It's going to be pretty similar for bringing players in as well, I think. So it looks like Sells is on his way out of the club, and I think we've all known this for a little while now. He was on loan at Anderlecht last season, and it's looking likely that he will be joining Anderlecht on a permanent deal, hopefully in the next few days. Now, Mbemba, he has also been linked away from the club after not getting any first-team football behind Lejeune and Lascelles. Now, he got joint into that deal. Sells and Mbemba to Anderlecht for around 8 million. The next thing I've heard from that is that Rafa wasn't happy with the fee paid for those two players. I do think Sells will leave on a permanent deal, but not as a pair. And Porto are reportedly interested in picking up Mbemba. Now, if they've come in and made discussions with Rafa or Newcastle and offered a higher fee, it's likely that is the reason why that dual deal with Anderlecht has fallen through. So we're going to have to find out what happens with that, see what Porto are willing to pay. But I'm happy with the 4 centre-backs we have at the minute, unless it's looking like we might bring another centre-back in and someone does need to leave. So Sells, I think we'll agree it's his time to go, but let me know what you think about Mbemba. Another player who has been linked away is Dwight Gale. Now, when I did my keep or sell video, it was kind of split on this one. We had people who said we should keep Gale as a backup. We had other people saying cash in, get the money from Gale. And it's Stoke who are reportedly interested. And you can see why. If Gale does what he did for us, at another championship team scores 20-25 goals, he's almost guaranteeing you, if not promotion, playoffs. If you have a striker that scores that many goals, you are going to be right up there in the table. Obviously, it depends on how many goals you let in as well, but he is prime transfer material for a championship club. Let's have a chat about some players that we have been linked with. Now, the first one I'll mention is the player I spoke about in my video last week, which is Aussie Cup. Now, last week there was a lot of people buzzing over this. Offer supposedly accepted and that he was going to be at the club very shortly. And in the last week, it seems to have just gone quiet. So, no idea what's going on with that guy. If we were to bring him in, he seemed like a very decent player from the research I've done. But like I said, it is all just rumours. So you may as well bear that in mind when I move on to my next players as well. The next player I'm going to mention, you'll probably recognise the name, is Bas Dost. He's the Sporting Lisbon striker, 29 years old, so he's a bit older now, but he could potentially be on a free transfer. If you haven't heard about this already, Rui Patricio, the goalkeeper from Sporting Lisbon, actually left the club on a free after the club didn't make it into the Champions League this year, and a number of fans from Sporting Lisbon went down to their academy and showed that they weren't very happy about that. Now, there's been a couple of players who obviously were a bit upset by this, asked to leave the club. Patricio has been one of them, and Bas Dost is linked with a number of other players to be letting out of their contract. Now, if that happened, he would be on a free. And like I said, he's 29 years old, but he did score 70 goals and 90 appearances for Sporting Lisbon, so you can't argue with those statistics. And even if he is a bit older, on a free, wouldn't be too bad. A final few transfer rumours. Another Sporting Lisbon player, Carlos Main. Now, he's a striker slash winger. He's only 21 years old, so I've not heard a lot about him. And he has spent the last couple of years on loan at Stuttgart. Apparently, us and Everton are both interested in this guy. No fee of yet, but as I mentioned, Sporting Lisbon are having a couple of issues, so it's quite possible that another player might want out. Harry Winks from Tottenham. Tottenham have been linked into bringing their new midfielder in, which means he could become available. I know we have Diarme, we have Shelby, did really well at the end of last season, and we've even got Marino. But again, Marino was also linked out as well, so I think centre mid is a position we may need to strengthen. If Diarme or any of the players, to be honest, come back and starts the season like we did last year, we could be in some trouble for the start of the season. So we need to hit the ground running like we played in the end of last season. But I think that is a position we could use some depth in, and I think Winks is a decent player. And we'll finish this video off by letting you guys know the Premier League fixtures are officially released on the 14th of June. So this Thursday, they will be out so we can see who we're going to play first, who we're going to play last game of the season. It's probably going to be Chelsea again, which I won't mind after what happened this year. So yeah, that will be out very soon, so we can have a chat about that next week. But let me know down below anything you may want to go through in next week's video. And yeah, as always guys, hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying the series. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.